Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of VENDO Velocity. If this is your first time joining us today, welcome. We are the VENDO Velocity podcast, and we go live every other Tuesday to talk about the latest and greatest platform and strategy updates across Amazon, Walmart.com, TikTok Shop, retail media, paid search and social. You name it in the e-commerce space, we're probably talking about it here on VENDO Velocity. But I'm very excited today to welcome back for the first time in a while, Darren Saul, our CEO. So Darren, welcome back. And I giggle because I'm sure you could tell everyone why it's funny that you're finally welcome back to the VENDO Velocity podcast.
I wouldn't exactly say welcome back. I think maybe I forced you to. It feels like the ban's been lifted for temporarily, at least for one episode for another year. No, I'm fired up to be on here, and no surprise that you've been holding it down with everybody in the entire team. There's no reason for me to be on here talking nonsense most of the time, but if you're going to invite me on here occasionally, even if it's by force, I'll take you up on that opportunity. So yes, very excited and fired up to be on here. And no less, we're what are we? Just a few days removed from a very, very important milestone in our company, which is very excited that Delaney is our now VP over our Amazon and TikTok Shop account strategy. So I'm gonna clap for you because there's no team on here, and maybe they're clapping in the background. So fired up to join you on here and have a great conversation as we normally do.
Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate it. And of course, your leadership is just the best. So I talk about that a lot on here. And even though you're not always on the podcast, you do have a permanent mark on the podcast. So
wait, let's correct that. I'm never on the podcast.
Okay. To be clear,
by the way, and it is better because of that. So once again, another very.
We like to hear everybody's voice on the podcast. Darren, of course, is the most notable of the voices, but we have really made it a point to bring on new teammates each time because VENDO really prides itself on the people here, and every single person contributes to the larger organization. So it's just been great to see all the different voices that have come across on this podcast. But for the purposes of today, we are going to be talking about a fun topic that is retail meets Amazon and omnichannel launch strategies. We'll talk a little bit about online versus offline brand messaging, how to optimize digital shelves, what KPIs we should be tracking against, and then, of course, how are we building omnichannel synergies and avoiding channel conflicts across these different retailers, which, of course, as you expand your distribution, just becomes more and more of both a growing pain and a point of emphasis for a lot of these brands to accelerate their sales across total marketplace sales. So, Darren, for the purposes of kicking things off here, I'd love to start with online versus offline. I think one of the biggest friction points we see for omnichannel brands is just consistency across these platforms. So can you just talk about how we recommend brands build more of a cohesive messaging when we talk about in-store shopping experiences versus total online?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that I believe it's still like 80% of sales are happening offline. So very important to make those two work together. Although I would argue now with the way the data is blended, Walmart is a good example. Sometimes it'll say your offline sales are X, but that really includes a lot of your online customer journey sales into its data. So with that being said, I think we have to differentiate between when you're looking at online, you really want to focus on education, social proof, all the value propositions, like the things that you can do on there. Whereas offline, it's more about visual branding and in-store shelf appeal, more of like a sensory immersive experience versus online. You can do real-time insights with like A/B testing. There's more of a short attention span online. You got to capture them very quickly. With that, there's discovery, there's education, comparison. There's so many things happening online. Offline, it can be more of an impulse buy, although you could argue TikTok Shop is kind of an impulse buy type experience as well. But really, when you think about developing a best-in-class for offline versus online, it's really that immersive, experiential experience that you're happening on shelf in store versus all the tools and things that are available online to you as well.
Yeah, you made a great point there because I find it really interesting how TikTok Shop is really bridging that gap between online and offline a little bit. How we like to talk about it here at Vendo is that TikTok Shop focuses more on demand generation, and Amazon and Walmart are more on the demand capture side. So when you think about TikTok Shop being a discovery first platform and you're looking at short form video, you're mainly focusing on how am I entertaining and educating my audience, which to Darren's point, you're able to do in store through your packaging, through your shelf space, any modular space you have, etc. So I find that very interesting that TikTok Shop is becoming more of that bridge where you can centralize your messaging, but we're seeing that halo impact on those demand capture channels now, like in Amazon and Walmart, where your SEO, where your reviews, and where your A plus content, rich media, etc., are all coming to life there. So
Well,
that's a great point there. Anything to add?
yeah, yeah. Also, a lot of brands fail to look at store distribution as your trial these
Mm-hmm.
days. So think about if you're selling a 12 pack of a beverage brand on Amazon or Walmart or TikTok Shop, it's highly unlikely that a lot of people are going to try it. I mean, they will, but less likely that they're going to purchase for $30, $29.99 a 12 pack of a drink they've never tried, especially if you don't have a variety pack to sample. So really, you got to think about your in-store strategy as a trial approach to really market those single servings where someone can discover you at store, whether that's in C-store at 7-Eleven or mass at Walmart. It's a great place to really get your customers to try your product. And then we see a lot of that repeat purchase behavior happen with subscribe and save or subscriptions on Walmart, where they come back to repeat purchase in a more convenient fashion. So really, if you think about an online strategy, think of that almost like a trial approach to get them to try the product that's a little more cost prohibitive online for you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And we'll talk about some of those main KPIs later. But to Darren's point, I think even as we look at TikTok Shop, Walmart, and Amazon, they are really pushing subscription heavily. Even TikTok Shop just more recently, looking at repeat customer behavior and how we're really trying to re engage those customers through low hanging fruit, whether that be coupons to customers who have interacted with videos. You think of Amazon's brand tailored promotions. There's so many different marketing initiatives that each of these retailers are innovating on to capture that repeat customer. So
Yeah.
totally fair there, Darren.
Yep. I'm going to turn the tables on you and ask you a question here because you're always interviewing people here, but you've got a wealth of information to share. What role does the influencer marketing play in shaping a brand's perception across platforms?
Yeah, I think that's a great call out there. I think as we've seen with Amazon affiliates, it's been in beta for quite some time now, but the rollout of TikTok Shop specifically has really given these creators a space to, I think, commoditize even more. And the creator economy has just grown because of the presence of TikTok Shop. So I think what we're seeing with TikTok Shop specifically is that influencers are now humanizing brands and brands are choosing to work with some of these micro influencers rather than these large scale macro influencers because of the fact that these micro influencers are really investing in their brands at a larger scale. So when we think of the trust that a lot of these brands are having with these influencers, they're removing red tape for what these influencers can and can't say. And they know that influencers know how to sell their product themselves without the brand putting up guardrails around, let's provide them with these do's and don'ts, let's provide them with these creator briefs, etc. That's becoming less of a need, especially on TikTok Shop, because again, creators know how to sell those products. So I think from an awareness standpoint specifically, and just looking at product discovery, TikTok Shop has really gotten the upper edge. If we even think of how they're expanding their live shopping side of the business too. With Amazon, we know that Amazon Lives haven't been as effective because you really need a large scale creator to go live. You need to build awareness that you are going live with those creators, etc. But with TikTok Shop, you really don't need that because some brands are going live for hours on end throughout the day, and they just are focusing on how are we finding a compelling host that is going to be able to sell our product. Again, selling and that capability first and foremost there. And then as we talked about earlier on, when we think of the halo impact on Amazon, we're seeing like 10x branded search for some of these brands who are really trying to focus on TikTok Shop as a primary launch strategy. Darren, do you want to talk a little bit about on the influencer marketing side, when we think of TikTok Shop plus Amazon, how are we kind of telling our brands how to focus on both of those simultaneously without cannibalizing Amazon sales or even D2C sales for that matter?
Yeah, well, a couple of things there. I think I read a stat from a newsletter we all follow. 70% of TikTok shoppers are going to Amazon to purchase. That's crazy
Yeah.
to see that stat. Now, they didn't cite the source of that, so I don't know if they made that up or not. But I think we're experiencing that with a lot of our clients across the many platforms that we manage. And I think the way we kind of communicate to our clients or give them guidance on strategy is you have to look at TikTok Shop not just transactionally, but it still is a marketing platform. A lot of these influencers are playing pivotal roles in shaping the brand perception across the platforms, right? They're acting as the trust amplifier and also that narrative bridge between the digital, excuse me, and the physical brand awareness side of things. So when we think about TikTok Shop, I know we saw a supplement brand in the space. They used TikTok Shop just to launch a product. They did it at a loss. They did a ton of giveaways, promos. I mean, it looked like they sold a couple $1 million within 30 days on TikTok Shop. But then they stopped all the promo activity on TikTok Shop and their Amazon sales went through the roof, essentially.
Yeah.
So really looking to TikTok Shop once again, as it used to be in the old days, we would say, hey, why don't you run TikTok Shop ads driving back to Amazon, even though the attribution was terrible. But now we look at TikTok Shop as not only transactional value on the platform itself, but all the brand awareness it's building outside of the platform is still very real and highly impactful to channels like Amazon, Walmart, as well as now Walmart is recently engaged a new affiliate platform that they're allowing you to drive traffic back to. So I'd say for both Walmart and Amazon and even Target, they're seeing the effects of TikTok Shop, at least the halo effects of it for that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we think of TikTok Shop and the stat that Darren gave, that's exactly what we're seeing across a lot of brands. And the main reason being a lot of brands have not yet adopted FBT or fulfilled by TikTok. And that is going to expedite your shipping speeds, similar to what you're seeing with WFS, similar to what you're seeing with FBA, etc. So consumers are savvy. They are looking at, okay, where is the cheapest I can get this in the market, but where is also the fastest that I can get this in the market? And as we know with Amazon's 2-day shipping speed, if that brand is using FBA, Amazon is probably going to win, or Walmart is going to win in most of those circumstances. So that's why we see consumers bouncing off of TikTok Shop, because they can, again, get the product at the same price unless you're running these aggressive promos on TikTok Shop, which is why we see such acceleration during the TikTok Shop deal periods, because, again, cheapest price in the market. But yet again, if we are looking at just pure shipping speed, if you could get it for the same price on a different retail platform, consumers are going to do that. So totally fair call outs there.
Well, on that point, go back to our first discussion point. Walmart is actually now beating Amazon with delivery speed and delivery time because they finally have leveraged their roughly 4,500 DCs called stores to get same day or 1 day shipping. Walmart's done an incredible job catching up from a logistics standpoint and is now leaning in more than ever to become the leader in terms of fastest delivery speed and things. So yes, TikTok could be a discovery platform, impulse purchase platform, but Amazon, Walmart, Target, and most retailers are still leading the way in terms of delivery, timing, speed, etc. as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's turn to talking a little bit about winning the digital shelf, and whether it's Amazon, Walmart, TikTok Shop. As we know, visibility across the digital shelf is everything. So Darren, can you just start us off by talking a little bit about some of those drivers of digital shelf performance across these top platforms?
Yeah, I'm going to get controversial here.
Here we go.
Most people think you're going to go with retail media, SEO, content quality, reviews, ratings. Nope. I'm going to go with inventory availability. So I think the most slept on metric for brands to be successful, especially when they see traction on these platforms, is inventory management, right? We see it time and time again, whether you're launching a product or you have an existing product that's doing really well or gaining traction or spiking because of a viral post, etc. Inventory planning and stockouts and the complexity with which these platforms are now challenging you to manage inventory on them. Amazon, notably, with their new minimum quantity reserves and things that they're doing. WFS is kind of complicated to some degree on the Walmart side. So yeah, I would say inventory availability to me is one of the top drivers for the digital shelf, obviously assuming you're buttoned up on all your content on the pages. What's your top one?
Yeah, I mean, you stole the words out of my mouth. I think inventory availability definitely the biggest, especially if you're expanding into TikTok Shop or any other retailer for that matter. If you're using multi-channel fulfillment or whatever you may be using to connect to Amazon, then at that time we've seen multiple brands have issues where TikTok Shop has created virality. They've gone out of stock on Amazon, but they've also gone out of stock on TikTok Shop, and trends take forever to pick back up after you have lost inventory availability for even as little as a week. So to Darren's point, yes, 100% inventory availability. I will talk a little bit about SEO and ranking because we have seen sort of everything evolve with AI coming into the picture. If you look at Rufus, if you look at Sparky is what it's called, right, Darren, on the Walmart side?
Sparky. Yeah, meet Sparky. Check that out on your Walmart app. So open up your Walmart
finally,
app now.
Walmart's stepping up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Shelby on our team playing around with Sparky over there on the Walmart app.
So between both Rufus and Sparky, you're going more of the personalized shopping route. You're seeing different search results depending on how you shop as a consumer, what your previous behavior has been, what your purchase history has been, etc. So I think context is everything now as all of these retailers evolve, and it's less about let's focus on keywords alone. We are not saying that you don't focus on keywords at all. It's still very important to SEO. You still want to rank on page 1 across these top keywords, but it's also important that you're completing all of the backend attributes. I think Walmart was actually ahead of the curve on this one because content scores are also driven by complete attribution. So you can't earn a 100% content score unless every single backend attribute that's required for that category is completed. So all of that context that you're now feeding the algorithm is more and more important there as well. But Darren, why don't you talk a little bit about external traffic too? Because I think as some brands think about winning the digital shelf, they only think about what's happening on platform and they don't realize what they can do off platform to build the digital shelf as well.
Well, favorite topic, AI, the buzzword of the moment for everybody. More than just a buzzword. If anyone gets a chance, I would Google Project Stargate, and everybody will be very curious as to what the heck that is being built in Texas. But I would say the new form of external traffic is actually everyone's talking about how OpenAI and ChatGPT is funneling, 4 or 5% of some of the external traffic now. You can now purchase and see shopping results inside of those platforms, and that's going to become more and more commonplace. Spoiler alert, they're going to run ads at some point in there. We'll probably see it. But yeah, I think Google and search still maintains one of the highest in terms of the attribution, meaning 3 to 1. They say Amazon has always said, like, for instance, if you drive Google search back to Amazon, it's worth roughly like a 3 to 1 ratio within the algorithm. That might have changed for now. And then as we alluded to earlier, driving influencer and affiliate traffic, we've got a couple of clients that are using affiliates. Yeah. I wouldn't sleep on affiliates as a strategy either, because from an external traffic standpoint, that still works very well due to the engagement, proof of concept, and credibility that those influencers bring. So from an external traffic, you don't want to just use one source. You don't want to just say, hey, I'm going to just run ads or I'm going to do this. You need to develop a full funnel strategy that really measures how you're using external traffic for each of the platforms that you're driving it, whether it's to Walmart, whether it's to Amazon or D2C for that matter. You always want to make sure it's the most effective traffic, and you want to A/B test. Like, some traffic converts better on other platforms than another, right? Like TikTok ads might convert better on Amazon, whereas influencers might convert better on Walmart. You just don't know until you try and test. So, and lastly, the spillover is real. If you think that you're not on Amazon or Walmart or a marketplace, you are. Your competitors are using that branded search that you're spending $500,000 a month on Meta ads to drive D2C. I guarantee you all those brands are using that search that's being captured on Amazon because you're not there to meet it. So don't sleep on looking at your branded search and looking it up and what it looks like on those other marketplaces outside of D2C.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And then I also wanted to highlight, I think that a lot of brands focus too much on the digital shelf when it comes to TikTok Shop. We've had a lot of brands ask us, hey, how do I rank higher on shop page? How do I rank higher on the home page? And that's just not how the customer is shopping. So TikTok Shop is not a shelf in the traditional sense. Again, as Darren and I have been chatting through here, it is purely influencer and content driven. If you look at the shop page, that's generating between 5 to 10% of all sales for most brands that are doing well on the platform. Affiliate content and short form video is driving 80 to 90% of overall sales on TikTok Shop. So yes, product titles still matter. Again, it's about viral storytelling. How can we, again, look at how we're telling the story through the content and really engaging in hooks early on in our videos, etc. So Vendo does look at all content trends across the space. We understand which brands are doing well and what type of content they're generating. What can we learn from those pieces of content? But also, from an SEO and backend standpoint, that is not as much of the focus. It's much more fluid and dynamic. It's much more about trending content than it is search. So we'll see how that continues to evolve on TikTok Shop. But that's just a misconception, I think, as far as people trying to optimize TikTok Shop the same way they do Amazon or Walmart.
Yeah, well, I think TikTok Shop, to your point, it's a different style of shopping. We're trying to adopt a live shopping that I know Gary Vee has been talking about forever, and is finally coming to somewhat fruition here, but nowhere near the way it does in the East, where you've got millions and millions of sales happening a minute, never mind an hour or a day. I saw a brand recently, they've gone live like 24 hours on TikTok Shop. They're going live like 24/7 on the platform. I think that's kind of the little takeaway or piece of advice for any brand on TikTok Shop is TikTok Live is always something that they're pushing hard in terms of being successful, engaging on the platform. I don't know about you, Delaney, but when I'm on TikTok Shop, I see some random lives that blow my mind. How many people are watching on there, which I think is really cool that you can see how many people are on each of the lives, which I know has been nascent to a lot of other platforms. But to your point, no shelf. I think it's more impulse purchase. It's brand awareness. And it's really the influencer play of building your brand on another platform that has heavy engagement and awareness as well.
Yeah. And to your earlier point, Darren, those brands that are going live, again, they're driving external traffic to that live. So they're talking about it on all their social handles. They're saying this is the exact time and date that we're going live. These are the deals that we'll be offering. So they're not just like going live and setting and forgetting it. No, there is a full holistic approach to how they're building those synergies offline, again, to drive back to that online live. So totally great point there. I want to talk a little bit about KPIs. Darren, you touched on them a little bit when you alluded to repeat customer behavior. But across all of these three platforms, TikTok Shop, Walmart, Amazon, what are the key KPIs to monitor? And of course, we know some of the bigger ones. So Darren, maybe if you could touch on some of those that are slept on as well.
Yeah, I think, look, sessions and traffic, when you talk about Walmart and Amazon, those are important. Whereas like with TikTok Shop, you're looking at follower accounts, video views, time on page, those types of things. It really just depends which channel. But I would say Walmart and Amazon more akin as is Target Plus as well in terms of what you're looking for there. Really, it's all about conversion and sessions, right? So you want to make sure you've got your top of funnel, your traffic coming in, and you want to make sure you've got high converting PDPs. Naturally, once you've optimized all of them for the right search and ranking there. I'd say review count and ranking. This is interesting. I'm curious to get your take on this because we get this all the time. Everyone's like obsessed with, hey, I need 10,000 reviews or 50,000 reviews. And we all know the evolution of the review banning and policies that have happened over the years. I don't know. I'm of the belief that it's just as important that, especially whether it's Amazon or Walmart, you have that 4.3 so that you're kind of crossing over into that 5th star. And you have general proof of concept. So you want to have, like, if you can get to 1,000 or a few thousand reviews, great. Once you get to 50 or 100,000 reviews, I don't know how impactful that is necessarily outside of, yes, there's some arguments in the algorithm, how that ranks, what that gives you, et cetera. But I'm curious, what do you think in terms of, should a brand say, hey, I'm just maniacal about having 100,000 reviews, or should they be focusing more on high converting traffic, PDPs, SEO, things like that?
Yeah, totally. I agree with you there, Darren. I think, one, it's all about the quality of the reviews. So to your point, I think 100 4.3 star reviews are going to go much farther than 1,000 4.0 star reviews, right? I would convert across the 4.300 reviews every time, but I think that all of it is also relative to the search results in the category that we're looking at. So for example, if you're searching the protein powder space and you have multiple competitors that have over 15,000 reviews, then yes, maybe you won't be able to compete as well with 25 to 30 reviews. But if you're really looking at a smaller search term and you're trying to win that long-term search term, and you're seeing that, okay, we're converting really well because our reviews are at the higher end compared to the rest of the category. And on average, the rating within this category is at least at the average that we're at or a little bit lower, then you're probably going to win that conversion. And then you could test that too, to Darren's point, A/B test that with time to understand, like through PickFu, when we run ratings and reviews test, are we seeing that reviews are a big reason why consumers are clicking on this listing over another? So yes, I think the quality and the rating itself is going to always weigh much more heavily, but it really is relative category to category.
Well, I also think reviews are becoming more impactful on the AI algorithm. So if we talk about Rufus or Sparky, right? You know, an oldie but a goodie strategy. This is probably why you don't have me on here very often, because I want to rehash old strategies that still people do not do and should. Is where the old strategy used to be plant your questions and answers in the review, in the questions and answers section. So you rank in Google for search, etc. You could argue the same in the review side of things, is really downloading your reviews, analyzing your reviews, at least the legitimate ones. There's a lot of great insights in there that a lot of brands just don't take as customer research. If you're getting a couple of thousand reviews, there's a lot of interesting nuggets in there. I love this in orange. Do you have it in pink? Hey, this was awesome. What if you did this with it, right? Your customers are sometimes your best focus group that you're not paying attention to, that they're actually putting in those reviews. And then I think another opportunity when we look at KPIs that has been talked about in the masterminding community is the sentiment scores around how you optimize, at least on the Amazon side of things. And I think that's another opportunity for people for AI. AI is now visually matching your content for keywords and ranking. Like they are looking at your imagery going, is that really a toaster or is it a pacifier? And they're saying, okay, we're going to decrease your ranking in the algorithm because we're seeing that you're claiming your headline to be a toaster, but it's really a pacifier. So I wouldn't sleep on a lot of those things as well.
Yeah, when you talk about sentiment, I definitely think that's the biggest area where AI is leaning in. Even if you look at AWS or Amazon Web Services, you're seeing multiple tools that are focused on sentiment alone. So of course, that just guides the fact that that's driving the A9 algorithm overall. But yes, to Darren's point, I think before, where people would plant questions and answers within their reviews, you're now seeing that people, or that brands that are succeeding, are doing the same thing within their infographics, within their A+. They're leaning into FAQs more than ever because that gives them space to optimize for Rufus, for Sparky, etc. So, Darren, I know we have 2 minutes. I feel like this has just flown by here. But I do want to touch on one last thing, really just bringing things all together here. And that is how brands can launch across these platforms without cannibalizing themselves. And I think the biggest question we always have is around pricing. So can you just give our audience a bit of a glimpse into what some of the key pricing strategies are that we recommend to avoid pricing conflict across channels?
Well, one of them is most basic that I'm still surprised when a lot of our brands or clients or even prospective clients come to us, have a MAP pricing policy. Like that's CPG 101, especially if you intend to go to retail. I know for some brands, they're now D2C native and they don't think about that in the short term, but really think about your pricing strategy. A lot of people get excited. Oh, I'm Target gave me an order. I'm going to go launch at Target. Great. And then you launched at Target and you forgot that you gave them such a great price that now that's going to affect your Amazon business, your Walmart.com business, your D2C business. All of those channels are now affected by that. So when you think about retailer alignment, it's not about necessarily sameness. It's about synergy, right? Like each channel's got to amplify that brand in a way that fits that specific platform, but they all must pull in the same strategic direction. And that starts with pricing. You want to ensure to the extent you can. I know every retailer wants the everyday low price, but you are the brand. If you really are offering them a value proposition and a unique assortment to their catalog, you have the right to say, listen, it's got to be MAP pricing, which, by the way, you can make the argument to the merchant or the retailer, hey, I'm committing that to you the same way I would another retailer, in the sense that I'm not going to go lower my price on another retail channel to cannibalize my sales with you. So I think starting out, MAP pricing, very important. Controlling your distribution network, just as equally critical. We see a lot of leakage happening on these marketplaces and platforms from resellers and other channels where they're like, well, I don't know where they got that product from. Well, we all know they got it from. It was one of your unauthorized third-party distribution partners on there. I think it's interesting, and I'm curious your opinion on the actual price matching that's happening today. It's kind of a mystery, but it's not. We do know that, let's say, for instance, Walmart, Target, Amazon, all matching each other to some degree, D2C, and even in anecdotal instances, TikTok Shop as well.
Yep.
So we know the old hacks about different UPCs, different assortments, etc. Some of those don't work anymore, especially at the eaches and variations. But I'm curious, what if you could give somebody a quick 30-second pricing strategy hack or tip, putting you on the spot, what do you think that would be, Delaney?
Yeah, I think just being as proactive about it as possible, to Darren's point, is the biggest thing. And that all starts with the synergies. So whether that's unifying promotional calendars across the board, having specific bundles that you only launch exclusive to these given retailers, of course, all low-hanging fruit that if you can build exclusivity, a lot of these retailers are already asking for it, then you should do that. But at the same time, it's really about, before you have these conversations with merchants, understand what your 6 to 12 month view is on pricing on Amazon and any other online platform that you're launching at. Because if you expect to lower your retails at Amazon in the coming months, then you probably shouldn't be pushing even lower retails across Walmart, because that's just going to lead to you decreasing your prices at Amazon, and that's going to spiral down from there. So 100%, I think the cross-channel data sharing, to Darren's point, it's all about sharing data across platforms. It's understanding, okay, on Amazon first, how does that pricing stack up across the rest of the competition? At that price that maybe you're launching at Walmart, where will you be positioned within the category? And does that make you competitive or not? And then just being proactive about, do you need to enroll in Amazon Transparency? Do you need to enroll in Launchpad? Do you have the abilities to do these things? There's so many programs to protect yourself now from some of these counterfeit sellers, but also from 3P sellers as a whole across these platforms. So
yeah,
I tried to keep it to 30 to 40 seconds there, Darren.
We did better than I would, because mine would have been 3 or 4 months over there. But that was awesome, Delaney. Thank you. I know we're over time here, and I want to say thank you for holding this down for these last couple of years. You've done an amazing job, and shout out to the whole team for contributing some amazing content. I hope a lot of our clients and prospective partners are watching and paying attention, because there's a lot of knowledge bombs being dropped here every single time we broadcast, and I really appreciate the content. I'm not going to be on LinkedIn bragging like one of the all our other competitors and some other CEOs out there, but I will say I am very proud of the best team in the biz, and that's us, and proud of all the great content and work that you guys all do day in and day out for our clients. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Darren. And I think the knowledge you shared here speaks for itself. You're not outdated in any form. I've never seen anyone who's so on top of everything that's launching in the space, creating AI agents, etc. So I think brands have seen that Vendo is at the cutting edge of all of these new updates. And we're excited to evolve as the space evolves and to be at the front end of that for sure. But thank you, everyone, for joining this week's episode of Vendo Velocity. We'll see you back here in 2 Tuesdays. And I'm not sure who's joining us then, but I think it's going to be a special guest that we're bringing externally onto the podcast. So stay tuned for some of our marketing around that. Thank you, Darren. Great to have you on, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
I will say, as just shout out to Elijah, to my son, as he likes to say, big shout out to our favorite band, AJR. Don't take forever. You're not here for long. All right.
There we go. That's a good one.
Thanks, Delaney. Appreciate
Thanks for that one, Eli. Talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.